As you guys saw, I was kind of like in a small neighborhood here in San Clemente, California. Probably one of my favorite places to be. One reason is just this amazing view, just sitting here kind of taking in the clouds, and that's part of the reason why I'm kind of stopping the video here. But anyways, a lot of times when you go out and shoot, it's not always to get the award-winning photo. It can just be for fun, it can be for pleasure. In the case of this video, I just really wanted to show off Portra 400 and hopefully maybe get a cool composition. But a lot of times you go and do photography just to make yourself happy. It's a good practice to be able to walk into a very sort of obsolete and mundane place like a neighborhood and to find things that your average person just wouldn't look at, or you wouldn't notice if you didn't have a camera in your hand. So like one of the pictures that I thought was kind of cool was like those sunflower seeds in the seat, like just a scene, you know, it's like almost like a scene out of a movie, but it's there, and you generally probably wouldn't look into that car if you didn't have a camera. So use your camera as an opportunity to build up the skills of noticing. That's pretty much all of what photography is, aside from the fundamentals like good light, good composition. But if you can't notice things, you're gonna have a very hard time getting photos that are good. And noticing is not just subject to a particular composition, but it's noticing light, it's noticing color, it's noticing shapes, it's noticing layers. So although there might be people that think, you know, what you're doing is pointless, don't think that way, and don't let them change your mind about what you're doing. When it comes to street photography, this is considered practice. So I'm kind of putting myself in a vulnerable position by showing you guys, you know, what practice is like for me. And by doing that, I show you guys some of the photos that of course are not award winners, they're not amazing, but there might be a little aspect of it that I really like the color, the light. So I'm just kind of, you know, that's the whole point of these videos, is to kind of give you like a little sort of insight into my process and take you guys along with me. So that's why I like making these. What's up everybody? I don't think I mentioned I'm in Laguna Beach today. Just doing a very short POV. See if we can find any interesting people, some good colors, and show off this Portra film simulation. So far I'm really loving it. Such good colors. That's probably been one of my favorite things about the Fuji X100VI, or just Fujifilm in general, is that the film simulation colors are just absolutely gorgeous. I was actually kind of messing around with my Sony the other day because I haven't touched that thing in a while, and took a few pictures. I'm like, dude, these colors look so weak. Like, I gotta spend so much time post-processing these photos. And with the Fuji, it's like a couple sliders and it's ready to go. I got really lucky today. It's really sunny. Unfortunately, I don't have that much time here, but the sky is nice and blue, it's warm, and I got my Fuji right here with my Peak Design leash. All right, let's see what we got. Let's wait for somebody to take a shot here. Terrible shot. Definitely not something you see every day on the beach here. This is pretty insane for a Thursday. Laguna Beach is pretty popping right now. I'm trying to look around to see what I like right now. I don't know.
right.
See, I was wearing a, oh, that was at the Portra.
So interesting. I don't know, I feel like some days I'm just running gun, just kind of shooting what I'm seeing as I'm walking. And then if I find a scene that I like, which I don't like to approach it that way because you need time. And then you need time to sit in the spot, multiple spots. But if I think a scene's gonna be epic, yeah, I'll wait at a certain spot and try and, you know, compose something. Why is this guy sitting the opposite way? Pretty sweet, actually. Pretty sweet acrobat. Oh, I just remembered one thing I want to say is, remember this lens hood? How I said that like you couldn't put a filter on it with the lens hood? Yeah, that's because I didn't have the right size filter. So as you can see, I have the black satin 1/4, which I already mentioned, but it does fit in there. 49mm with a lens hood. So correction, guys, it does work. I didn't have the right filter the day I made the video, but rest assured, I'm really liking this this hood anyways. It's been good. Got a little flamingo, pink flamingo. That picture I just took of the family right there, I have no idea if it actually came out clear or whatnot, but I just like those little scenes of everyday life. Father and his son just sitting there having a good time, making memories. It's beautiful. At least to me. I don't know. Somebody might see that. It seems like people look at photos and they expect them to be, you know, one of one every single time, but that's just not how it goes. Like, as you can see, I've walked around today, and there's days you just don't get those opportunities. You don't get lucky. The cosmic probabilities of things happening just sometimes don't happen. So you just gotta, that's why you gotta keep going out. But yeah, it's still fun. I enjoy it, and this is how I get better. So I don't know why I like the way this looks, but it's just kind of interesting. Well, I don't want to keep saying this because I'm going to sound like a broken record player, but the Fujifilm camera is completely new to me, and it's a new system, so I'm very excited to be making these videos for you guys. In this particular one, as you guys saw, I was testing out Fuji X Weekly's Portra 400 recipe, the V2. I did actually make a lot of changes to that recipe for my personal liking, so you could call this Junette's Portra 400, but I know I have to give the credit to them because they kind of gave me sort of a direction. And of course, you should always go for what you want and not just stick with you know, what people tell you to do. But even just looking at the recipe when I was first putting it into my camera, I could tell right away there were some things that I just wasn't interested in. So I'm going to go over those right now with you guys. I'm only going to go over the stuff that I changed, of course, that would make the most sense. So starting off with the film simulation, I decided to use Pro Negative Standard. Don't ask me why I decided to do that. I just liked the way it looked, so that's why I chose it. I think that when you expose Portra 400 on film, actually, it looks different in different lighting scenarios, and depending on how much exposure there is, whether it's under or over, can give it an extremely different look. So that's why, like, if you you know, look at my Portra 400 preset or you buy somebody else's, they're all gonna look different. That's just the nature of it. So in this case, I like the way that Pro Negative made the base look, and then I made obviously some adjustments here and in Lightroom to kind of round out the look. The second thing I changed was the grain. They recommended strong and small. I went with weak and large. I just really didn't want strong grain built into the photo. Granted, I shoot RAW plus JPEG, so at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. In general, I think it's better to have less grain than more, just in case it comes out too much and you end up not liking it, then you can't really take grain away. You know, if I need more, I can definitely add more in Lightroom, so I went with weak large. As for the color chrome blue, I decided to go with weak. I did a little research into what that actually does to the blues, and what it does is basically it brings down the luminance, like makes the blues darker, which should bring back some of the gradations of the blue, so like the different shades of blue. I just decided to do weak because I wanted to have a little bit more shade of blue, and then the color chrome effects like the red, oranges, yellows. I also changed the white balance. I did it a little bit warmer, so I went with 5700. And then I did not do any shifts in the red and the blue. I left those both at 0. For the highlights, I did -1. I thought that maybe I could just tone those down a little bit. And then for color, I do like a lot of color in my photos. I know when you do actually get your Portra 400 developed, if you tell the lab not to do any color corrections, it actually comes out pretty flat. So maybe color 2 is more accurate, but I don't think anybody leaves it that flat. I'm pretty sure everybody edits the photo to make it a little bit more colorful. What you see on Instagram and on YouTube, those Portra 400, that's not what it looks like when it comes from the lab, just so you know. Those are all edited like heavily. As for the sharpness, like -2 makes sense if you're not going to use a diffusion filter, but in my case, I was using the black satin 1/4. So that reduces sharpness, it adds bloom, and it reduces contrast. So as you guys will see, I'll add some contrast back in Lightroom. But since I was using a filter, and I feel like a lot of people do, there's no reason to decrease the sharpness. And also when you're adding grain, I feel like grain can kind of make the photo look also a little less sharp. So it's like a double whammy there. I feel like it's not necessary to have a bunch of grain and less sharpness. Your image is going to look really soft. And on top of that, they want you to use -2 clarity, which is going to make it even softer. So I didn't think that made sense for me in the look that I'm going for. So just to go back, I left the sharpness at 0 and I left the clarity at 0. Another reason why I left clarity at 0 is because it increases the buffer time in camera. So for my personal workflow, like I don't need the camera to slow me down when I'm out shooting. So I need to have the fastest buffer possible, and clarity is just like one of those things you can add back into the photo in Lightroom. So what's the point of adding it in camera? I know some guys like, they shoot JPEG and just want to be done once they take the photo, which is fine, and I would recommend you touch the clarity if that's the way you shoot, but I spend time in Lightroom anyways, so I can just add it back. And finally, I left my exposure comp at 0. They recommended 1/3 to +1, basically overexpose a little bit to kind of make things look a little bit brighter. I just left it at 0. I can do that in Lightroom again, no problem. So that's basically the way I set my Portra 400 up. And I'm going to show you guys like in Lightroom some of the adjustments I made there as well. I'm going to start off with this Portra photo here. Basically this is what it looked like coming straight out of camera. So it looks pretty good, just a little dull because I was using the bloom. And there's only so much color control you have in the camera. Like setting the color to 4, which is what I did, it only goes so far. And like this photo, this was in the beginning of the video when I shot in the overcast scenario. Well, I don't know if I mentioned that, by the way. Like the first half of the video in San Clemente was when it was like cloudy, and then the second half was really sunny. I think you guys picked up on that, but just in case you didn't. After the edits, this is what it looks like. And just to really quick go down to the color, because it was so gloomy in that specific day, I had to bump up the vibrance and the saturation to kind of get the colors to look the way they do. And then I did make it a little bit warmer. As you can see, actually it looks pretty good at 0, like the 5700 that I shot it at, but I liked it just a little bit warmer. and I thought it was a little bit on the purple side, so I put the tint down a little bit to green, as you can see there. So I just like the way that looked. And then of course, because I was using the bloom filter, I don't know why I keep calling it the bloom filter, the black satin diffusion filter. You know, you lose contrast when you use that, so I had to bump some of that up. And then I like to bring some of the details back in the shadows, so I brought the shadows up and brought the blacks down. The last photo I want to look at is one of the photos I took when it was really sunny in Laguna Beach. So this is what came straight out of camera, extremely washed out. I was pretty much shooting almost into the sun, like the sun was like right to the right of the frame, so pretty washed out. So here it is with the edits. Of course I had to add that contrast back in, get some more details in the shadows. Even though I was shooting at that DR400, you know, there's still details in the shadows, but because I'm increasing the contrast, darkening up those darker areas, you lose some of that detail, so that's why I brought those up. And then going down to the color, you can see that I didn't do too much. Definitely warmed it up a little bit. That's the look I like to go for. And then the vibrance and saturation just added just a touch. Like if I take those away, you can see that it still looks pretty nice. But again, I like what I like, so I just increased the vibrance and saturation. I just wanted to show you guys this one where I didn't touch the vibrance and saturation. I just warmed it up a little bit. But you can see that when the lighting and the angle's good, that the colors actually come out nice. Not too bright, not too saturated, like just right in my opinion. So that's why I didn't even touch it in this one. But of course, you know, I did have to add back that contrast because of the not bloom filter, the diffusion filter, which is the black satin 1/4. Highly recommend you guys look into that. Of course, I'm going to leave some links down below to these things, you know, the diffusion filter, the lens hood that I have on the Fuji. So that's pretty much it, guys, for Junette's Portra 400. I just want to thank Fuji X Weekly for providing sort of that as a base for me to work off of. I want to know what you guys think. But so far, I like, you know, what's coming out of the camera with those settings. I think it's pretty good. But I am super stoked, actually, to test out a lot of the other ones they have. So if you guys like this video, obviously smash the like button. But if you want to see me go out and test more film simulations, definitely hit subscribe, and you can be up to date when those come out. Once again, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I hope you have a great day. Go out there and shoot, and I will see you in the next video.